The movie begins with a girl running through the forest, and there's a guy there, maybe her dad. He approaches a horse lying on the ground, struggling to stay alive. After he puts the poor animal to rest, a woman wakes up, revealing that it was all just a nightmare. The scene then shifts to a woman hitchhiking, and a car with 3 friends passes by. One of them, Heather, says they should have picked her up since she's just a hitchhiker, and there are 3 of them in the car. The other 2 friends are Rona and Scott, and as they drive, they chat about other friends. They aren't with the others, but eventually, they arrive at their destination, where 2 more friends, Andy and Donnie, are waiting. As the 5 walk towards a building, we catch sight of the woman who is hitchhiking and whom they decided not to pick up. As soon as they find a table, Rona pulls out a map and lays it down. Donnie asks if she has a plan, and she replies that she likes to set realistic goals, giving him a look that suggests she thinks he doesn't do the same. Soon after, Andy pretends to accidentally spill beer on Heather's shirt, which makes her react. She heads to the bathroom to clean up when suddenly the hitchhiker enters. She tells Heather that the way she's trying to clean her shirt is only making it dirtier. Then, to help her, the young woman gives her a handkerchief to cover herself. When she returns to the group, Heather introduces everyone to Carla, saying that Carla helped her. Donnie tells Carla that they are on a mission to find a lost cabin, which sounds like a treasure hunt to her. Andy jokes that he's only here for the birds. Then Rona mentions that her father passed away, which makes her friend sad, but she seems fine with it. She believes there's a lot of treasure in the cabin that used to belong to her father. We find out she hasn't seen him since she was 8 years old. Donnie mentions that they are going to a place called Mercy Falls and asks Carla if she knows it. She replies that she does. Then Heather suggests that the new girl should be their guide, but Carla insists that she doesn't want to be intrusive. Andy puts his arm around her and says the group really needs her. When she removes his arm, she insists that she'll be just fine alone. Heather points out that Carla said before she would like to disappear into the forest, so why not help them out? With that, Carla agrees and raises a toast to new friendships. But Rona seems quite upset with this decision. In the next scene, we see some older folks performing in a bar. Heather is dancing with Rona and wants the new girl to join them, so Carla tries to, while Rona just sits there. Donnie approaches Rona and she opens up, saying she doesn't like strangers and blames her father for her trust issues. Donnie tells her to relax, saying she doesn't need to worry. Heather and Carla are really involved in this event when a guy approaches the dancers and asks if they're ready to party. Heather, impatient, tells him to back off. The guy disrespects her, giving her a slap on the backside, which causes Carla to lose it and punch him in the face, knocking him to the ground. When he gets back up, Carla also slaps him on the backside and tells him to shove off. The next day, Rona goes out and sees Carla sitting outside. Before long, the rest of the group arrives. Rona says it will take about 4 or 5 hours to walk to Mercy Falls. Once they arrive, she's not very sure what the plan is. Heather thinks Carla knows the way, but Rona insists she has no idea where the cabin is. Carla then asks if the group has an emergency plan in case something goes wrong. Andy interjects, saying nothing is going to happen because it's just a little walk in the woods. Rona remembers that her dad used to have a radio at their cabin, so they could use that if they run into any problems. Then, Andy trips, and Carla quickly helps him up. Later on, the group finds themselves in the woods, and Rona seems quite stressed. She admits she's confused about where they actually are. Scott cuts through her vague speech and just says that they're lost. Carla asks to see the map, and Rona hands it over. Carla thinks they need to go north for about 3 more miles, stating that she's been here before. Heather complains that this is way too far, and Andy joins in, worried that his feet will give out before they even get to those 3 miles. As they continue walking, they start to hear some strange sounds. They think they've lost Carla and start calling for her. Rona has a flashback of when she was a child, running through the forest, hearing her dad calling for her. In the present, she tells her friends to be quiet, but Heather points out that no one is talking. Rona remembers her dad with a horse and tells everyone to be quiet again, and Andy adds that it's completely silent. Rona is still frustrated with her memories when, out of nowhere, Carla appears and scares Andy, making her laugh. He wants to know how she ended up behind them, and Scott wonders the same thing. She says she had a lot of practice because of how Rona has been acting lately. Andy tells her he won't follow her anymore. Scott tries to cheer her up, telling her she doesn't need to worry about him. Meanwhile, Rona thinks she hears water, and Scott hears it too. They aren't imagining things because the group sees a lot of it flowing quickly. At night, they set up camp, and Scott is reading a book by Homer. He states that Homer is the godfather of storytelling, and that all stories around the world have been influenced by him. But as soon as Andy hears this, he doesn't believe it. Meanwhile, Carla crumples up the newspaper before throwing it into the dying fire. Donnie watches her do this. The next scene has a helicopter flying over a desert. We see an injured woman lying somewhere in that desert. Carla is beside her, wearing military gear, holding the injured woman's hand and telling her everything will be all right. Then, she occupies a battlefield where an enemy soldier grabs her from behind while holding a knife. But she manages to break free before taking the soldier's life, then takes another life. Back to the present, Heather suggests they should tell scary stories. Donnie says he hates that, so he chooses to go for a swim. Carla announces she's going somewhere too. Scott starts telling a story that begins on a cold, moonless night, where lost wanderers seek solace in the water. Then mermaids emerge from beneath the surface. They are the most beautiful and enchanting women in the world, yet they are not of this world. They seek those who are on the edge. As Scott narrates this, we see Donnie getting ready to enter the water. Scott continues that the mermaids pull these people to their depths once they think it's time to escape. They look around to realize there's no way out. They are completely captured by the mermaid's web. Carla joins Donnie in the water to compliment Scott's story. They start kissing without saying a word. Rona observes her boyfriend's unfaithful behavior and becomes upset. Carla seems to notice that Rona is watching, but that doesn't stop her. Rona walks away, only to witness more betrayal happening. Heather is getting intimate with Andy. Rona struggles to compose herself due to all this promiscuous behavior. When she sleeps, she dreams of the past again. She wakes from the horrifying act of her father taking the horse's life for the second time. Eventually, a new day dawns, and Scott exits his tent to confront Andy about what he did with Heather. Scott accidentally punches him onto a sharp branch, and it impales him in the leg. As the group tends to him, Donnie tries to call for help, but there's no signal in these woods. Rona grabs Scott's belt to tie it to Andy's wound. Seeing this, Carla approaches the injured man to slit his throat with her knife. He perishes in seconds. This terrible event triggers her memory of being with the injured woman during the war. Carla shot her to relieve her pain. Donnie is the first to tell Carla what she's done. She responds that he was already dead. A person doesn't lose that much blood and still expects to walk down a mountain. Opposing Carla, Rona says they could have called for help. Carla tells her this is wilderness, no help could come. Rona still wants to go to the police, but Carla claims they can't because a corpse is here. She says she took Andy's life, but Scott punched him and Heather led him to his fate. According to Carla, if this incident leaks, they all have problems. Scott worries about going to prison. Carla continues saying either Andy was never here or they all go to prison with Scott. She suggests they should choose between living with a lie or embracing the harsh reality, or opting for a truth that would affect all their lives. Donnie wants to bury his friend soon. The group collects stones as they do this, and Heather is near the fireplace and finds the crumpled newspaper that never burned. She reads the newspaper and becomes scared. She looks at Carla. Heather decides to keep the paper, hiding it inside her jacket. Soon, the group takes their collected stones to place them on Andy's clothes. Carla pulls the deceased guy into the water, watching him sink. With that done, she says they need to find the cabin, clear their heads, and go their separate ways. Heather tells Scott that he is the reason Andy is dead. He replies that all this time she was trying to get him riled up. She is the reason Andy is gone. After this, the group continues to move. As they do, Rona tells Heather she thinks the incident was Carla's fault. At this moment, Heather shows her the newspaper. Rona reads that Carla was in the British Army. She was dishonorably discharged for taking the lives of 2 of her officers. Rona expresses her concern about this. She talks to Scott, telling him that what happened wasn't his fault, it was an accident, and they should tell the police. She shows him the newspaper to help him understand what they're dealing with. When the group reaches a cliff, Carla asks Rona if it looks familiar. She's not sure. She needs to see what's on the other side. Carla wants to know if Rona can climb the cliff. Rona says she can't. Thus, Carla now has a rope on her shoulder and begins to climb the cliff with it. The group watches as she engages in the dangerous activity. As soon as Carla reaches a considerable height, Rona tells her friends they have to leave. Donnie doesn't know what she's talking about. After she hands him the newspaper to read, Heather says Carla is taking them into the middle of nowhere. Donnie thinks the 4 could take on Carla, but the others decide not to risk it, so the group starts running along the base of the cliff. Carla sees them running. Her betrayal leaves her upset, and she throws the rope down to begin her descent from the cliff. Eventually, the group stops running to catch their breath. Rona recognizes the area, knows where to go from there, to another place she knows, an opening with a long drop down to the bottom where a tree serves as a bridge. Heather starts walking along the narrow tree first, showing little fear. She completes it, followed by Scott. Rona's crossing isn't as smooth as theirs. She falls on the tree. Fortunately, she doesn't fall into the water many feet below. She gets up to cross to the other side. The last to go is Donnie, who tells his friends to get out of there. He decides to push the tree into the water so Carla can't reach them. As soon as he turns, he sees Carla standing there. She runs at him and takes his life with an axe. He falls into the water, meeting his end. Carla has a confrontation with Rona for a few seconds until she runs away with her friends. As the three survivors rest in a new area, Heather asks Rona why her father left the cabin to her, of all the things he could have left. Rona assumes it's the only thing he had to give. Heather wonders why Rona doesn't talk about him. The answer she receives is that he wasn't an evil man, but was misguided. Rona likes to think he gave her the cabin to remind her of good times when life was simple. At that moment, she recounts the story involving the horse. She was in the forest with her dad, and they found a horse trapped in a snare. Little Rona thought her dad would help the animal. Unfortunately, he was not getting up, so he helped it to leave faster. This made Rona run away. She hated him so much for what he did. He could have washed his hands 1,000 times, but she would still see blood on them. Reflecting on the incident now, she thinks he might have been right. She thinks she probably did the only thing she thought she could. After walking for a while, Heather asks for a break and steps away to attend to her needs. Scott tells Rona that he's mad at his girlfriend. Rona has faith in them, saying they just need time. They need to be a team. However, he says he's done with her. Shifting to Heather, Carla is there to tie a rope around her neck before lifting it up into a tree. Rona calls for her friend, saying it's time to go. She and Scott find her lifeless. The horrible sight makes Scott fall to his knees. Rona screams furiously at Carla with obscenities. Scott cries by her side. His sadness must be intense since his last interaction with Heather was negative. At night, Carla watches them run. The next day, the survivors are in a field. Rona thinks their fate lies beyond the hill ahead of them. Eventually, they reach a green cabin, and Rona says it's her late father's. Thus, the duo enters to start searching inside. Rona looks at a framed picture of herself younger with her dad. She picks it up in her hands to take a better look. As Scott finds a radio, Rona hopes the generator still works. Scott heads outside to another room where he manages to get the generator going. Rona takes her family picture and folds it so she does not have to see her father. Now that they have power, Scott turns on the radio. He uses it to call for help while providing their location, but he receives no response. Rona tells him she's not going to die like the rest of their friends. She adds, "It's Carla or them." Scott doesn't know what to do. Rona knows. She suggests they stop Carla. Scott tells her that she can't even kill spiders, let alone a person. The difference in their current situation is that Carla has taken their friends and is determined to get rid of them too. This makes Rona certain that she will eliminate Carla for what she did. Later, the friends search through the cabin for anything they can use as weapons. Rona finds an axe. She says she knows Carla is coming and that she knows she will find them. She plans to set a trap for the woman. Scott thinks that won't work in this cabin, but Rona responds that it's all they have. Scott looks at the map, which tells him there's a cave somewhere nearby. He says Carla will expect them to be in the cabin, but won't expect them to be hidden in a cave. Hiding there will give them the element of surprise. Rona thinks it's a good idea. In the next scene, we see the duo in the cave collecting branches to create weapons. Scott isn't sure the plan will work. At some point, Rona leaves the cave to look at the sunset. She contemplates her situation. At night, they occupy the cabin. Scott is next to the radio and tells Rona he isn't receiving anything from it. Soon, they toast to their lost friends. Amid all this fear and confusion, they find it appropriate to start kissing. We see Carla standing outside, eating while watching the survivors she plans to eliminate later. Scott notices the generator has shut off. He grabs one of the weapons they made before leaving to fix it. As he attempts to get the machine working, Rona is inside with lit candles. She takes another drink. As soon as Scott gets the generator running, Carla greets him from behind. She whispers if he's been looking for her. She slowly approaches, and he recoils in fear. It doesn't take long for him to punch the woman. To his dismay, the punch doesn't take her down. She grabs her knife, leading him to defend himself with the improvised weapon, but the experienced Carla cuts his arm before throwing him against the wall. Rona hears this. Then Carla stabs Scott in the stomach. Rona opens the door, and he collapses so she can catch him. The poor guy dies from the wound in seconds. At this point, the final battle between the two survivors begins. Carla enters the cabin to confront Rona. Suddenly, the radio turns on, emitting strange sounds. As Carla gets distracted by this, Rona uses that time to smash a bottle over her head. After this, she grabs a flare and runs out of the cabin. She heads to the cave where she lights the flare. Soon, Carla appears there, seeing the red light. Rona has customized torches that she lights and also grabs the axe. Carla screams because the injury Rona inflicted on her hurts. When Rona enters her line of sight, she tries to strike her but misses. They swing their weapons at each other, and Carla is the first to spill blood. Rona manages to disarm her enemy's weapon. Carla retaliates using her reserve to strike Rona's back, causing severe pain to our main character. Carla pins her against the wall, saying all Rona has to do is ask, and Carla will quickly eliminate her. Instead of doing that, Rona uses the sharp torch on the wall to impale Carla's leg. She frees herself in the process. Then, she grabs a bucket of gasoline. She waits a few seconds before pouring it on Carla. Due to her holding a flare, she begins to burn instantly. Rona watches the military woman burn to death, having achieved her victory. Rona exits the cave as the sole survivor. She looks at the folded picture of her youth until it drops from her hand.